Get on that headset. It's time for Let's Talk Real Estate. Coming to you not live. A little pre-recorded show, which we'll talk about here. But hopefully you're enjoying the show every Friday. This time, my dog is barking. This is great. Great kickoff to the show.
Can't hear it. Can't hear him.
Phenomenal.
That is my Crisp.a. That's AI noise canceling. Highly recommend it.
Fuck AI.
I will be annoyed by my dog, but you will not.
I feel like I'll be one of those last men standing, battling the creatures of AI who have taken over human society. And it'll be like one of those movies where it's just me trying to fight against all these robotic AI creatures.
You're like John Connor in Terminator.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's how I think this is going to wind out. I'm going to be...
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I feel you as... I feel like you'd be... I could see you in that setting, but I'd see you more like the person who's like, I think AI can be a great tool. Let's make sure we do this really carefully.
I'm eternally torn because I also want to install Elon Musk Neuralink in my brain, but I don't want them to be able to control me.
Nor do I want anybody. The Neuralink.
I don't want you inside my brain.
The Neuralink is weird.
Don't be.
I think that's a competitive advantage that shouldn't be allowed. That's like money buying a competitive. I don't know. It's weird.
So you guys,
whatever.
So we're pre-recording because you guys are heading out to...
That's right. Carlos and I are getting on a jet plane and flying over to Phoenix, Arizona on Sunday. And we will be not together.
On respectively different airlines.
I'm on American Airlines. Don't know what he's on.
Southwest.
Oh God. Hopefully they don't fuck it up for you.
Carlos may not arrive. They'll lose him in the transport.
But yeah, we are going to meet our mothership. Our mothership is calling us to retreat. So Investor Views was purchased by Carrot a year ago on January 3rd. So a little while ago. Not so long. The anniversary was not so long ago. Anyways, they do a in-person retreat yearly with their whole team. So as many people as that can travel can. And they all meet up, and we, talk about the year coming up, plans, meet in person, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I have never met in person anybody from Carrot. Carlos has met a couple of people at events, but it goes to tell you about how this world is. They bought my company and had never met me. That's true. Brandon and I are partners, and we've never met either. And same thing with Dan, with Investor Views. The first time I met him, we'd already been working together for like a year. Interesting one we live in. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna be out there, so we can't do the podcast live. So we're doing a little just jam session, chatting about some things this week. But I'm excited. It'll be interesting to meet everybody.
It will. I was going to say I know a bunch of them, but relative to the size of their company, I've probably met 7 of them around that.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a small fraction of the company. But yeah, excited. Super early flight, like a 6 a.m. flight, 6:30 flight. So
I cannot do early flights. Mine's at 9.
Up
9?
Nice and early.
9.
Oof. We'll be up nice and early.
Sleeping on the plane.
Yeah, oh yeah. Big nap on the plane, guy.
But yeah, it'll be a fun trip, doing some work stuff. I don't know about well, you wouldn't know, Carlos. You like to travel. I am not a big fan of traveling unless it's with my family, and my family does not like me to travel. I think you're the same way, right, Brandon?
I love traveling. I hate the airlines. I want a private jet. I want my own school bus to travel around in.
You want to take those close to you, right?
Yeah.
Places.
I take same here. Which is why I got with my dog. You know what I mean? Like if I have my jet, which I plan on one day buying, fucking my dog's coming with me, bro.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Walking on the tarmac.
Yeah.
What? Eating box. Runs up to the plane.
I like traveling, but I love being home too. Like just being at home, my own routines and my own food, and
I love that
come
too.
from my own bed. I love being
that's
home.
The thing is so that's the beauty about making money. is wealth allows you to bring those creature comforts with you. That's where what normal people call those eccentric billionaires, right? Because you need specific things to go with you. That's how I would do it. I would be like, so it's weird, but I have one of everything everywhere I go. So my house has my exact setup. I'll buy 2 chargers, 2 double the same monitors, double the same setup, double the same, all the same stuff. So when I go home, it's all the same work environment for me. It's all the same work environment here. I have 2 of the same headsets, 2 of the same mice. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just easier for me. I keep sweaters here, like everything I have here, I also have at home. I have my books here. It's, you know, like, I would do the same thing on my jet.
Yeah. Walk into your jet, and there's your wheel.
There's
ready
my
to
Mountain
spin.
Valley spring water up and ready to
The
go.
whiteboard.
Yeah. Just bringing this with me, and, you know, got my hammer. I'll be carrying this with me just in case we got to lay the law down.
Yeah, everything you need inside that plane.
Listen, they say you need to be traveling at least 350 to 400 hours to warrant buying a private jet.
That's a lot of travel.
Okay, well, that's my goal. I need to buy enough mobile home parks throughout the country that warrants that
going places and like seeing them on
100%.
Mm-hmm.
That many businesses, that many mobile home parks I need to own. And then I will be on my jet.
Yeah. With your Neuralink, learning how to do kung fu.
I hate the airport though, man. I fucking hate I hate those people. They don't make it fun. It's not fun to fly. It's not
like
fun.
the TSA agents?
Yeah, like, one guy yelled at me. There's nobody in the Little Rock airport. Nobody. Fucking nobody. And they had the lines going like this. So I cut through them.
Oh,
the
man.
guy came over.
That's a big no-no if you have a hard
step
ass.
aside. He goes, and they're freaking out. They're literally, I didn't know what was going on. One TSA agent rushes by me. She rushes by me, and I'm just oblivious to what's going on. And I look over. She's fixing the fucking thing and trying to pull a sign in front of the area that I cut through. And the guy's like, "Sir, can you step over here for a second, please?" He goes, "You weren't supposed to do that." I'm like,
That's a big no-no.
what am I fucking doing, bro?
Oh, God. That's the funny thing. Like, I always fly out of Orlando International Airport, which is always fucking busy. And then it's hilarious when I get to, like, these small town airports. I remember one time I went to, even Nashville was pretty, like, small. And I was like, what is this place? There's nobody here. This is not what I'm used to in an airport.
It's fucking, and you know what? It's never the same. It's never the same. I have flown, I don't know how many times. I bring my suitcase, my book bag, and I wear my fanny pack. This fucking bitch the other day is like, sir, can you stop, please? You need to remove your fanny pack. That is a third personal item. It needs to be stowed away in one of your bags. I'm like, what? Dude, you're only allowed to bring 2 things on the plane. Your backpack and your suitcase. Those are your 2. Your fanny pack counts as a third. I'm like, I'm wearing it. She's, sir, you need to stop and you need to put it in your bag. So I had to stop, put it in my bag. I literally walked 2 feet onto the little thing, took it out, looked at her, put it back on, and I went. She didn't see me look at her, though, because I didn't want to get in trouble. She wasn't looking in my direction, but I was like, fuck you, I'm putting it back on. 2 feet away from you. And I fucking went.
Do you rock a fanny pack all the time?
Bro, I got
What's in there?
Everything. I got my toothpicks in here. I got my wallet, my keys. I got my flavored mint toothpicks. I keep my non-digital Bitcoin. My daughter got it for me for my birthday. But yeah, it's a special one. It protects my private area against the radiation of my phone. My wife wanted, the EMF waves or whatever they are. It's a special. It's like a Faraday pack. You know what I mean? Like you put it in there and it doesn't, because it's sitting on my crotch all day. And
does it not get signal when it's inside the bag?
I don't fucking know. Now it gets signal, so it's not a true Faraday, but get the idea.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes,
How long have you been rocking a fanny pack?
Probably like 7-8 years.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean,
Before they were man bags. I'm impressed, sir.
Yeah, I went on a cruise with a buddy. Me and him went on like this fucking awesome cruise, and he had a fanny pack, and I was putting shit in my pockets.
And you're like,
and I was like, bro,
that's
like,
the way to do it.
The whole trip, we're just fucking balling out, and this motherfucker's carrying chapstick and all kinds of shit in his fanny pack. And you know what I mean? Like, we were young at the time, and you're trying to go out at night and hang out, and you got like fucking shit bulging out of your pockets and stuff. And I'm like, bro, from that point on,
That
fanny
proves
pack at 20. I don't give a
changed
shit.
your
People
life.
Make fun of me. People make fun of me. I go to like the conferences and the events for real estate. You know what I mean? People make fun of me for my fanny pack. Like, you wearing a fanny pack, man? Everyone's dressed up in suits, and I'm just wearing a fanny pack. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Mr. Real that should not be your tag name. It should be fanny pack real estate guy. And then everybody would know who you were.
Fanny pack, bro.
I hate realtors.
Fanny pack all the time. I wear a fanny pack to church. Fanny pack.
That seems like a good place to wear a fanny pack to.
I think I hate realtors more than I love fanny packs.
That's on the opposite end of the spectrum.
That's what I was going for. That was I was going for potential IG names. I hate realtors would be a funny one.
Anyway, well, that's good for you guys at the Carrot Retreat. Let me know if you guys pick up any good stuff. Trevor's always got some wisdom.
Smart guy. Yeah, be interesting to see it and hear it. And I'll count how many fanny packs I see in the airport.
Fanny packs there. Do you have TSA and pre-check as we end the convo on plane thing?
I don't.
Fantastic.
How do you get it?
Love it more. TSA pre-check, you have to go to a local building. You should be able to Google it, some type of government building local to you. And you pretty much go there with like driver's license, passport. I think you pay $50, something like that. And it's good for like 2 or 3 years. They do some type of verification process, probably like a criminal background check. Then you're good to go. So you have TSA pre-check where that's helpful because, especially me, because I always travel with laptop, my iPad, don't have to take my shoes off, don't have to take my belt off. You give the person the nice TSA agents a nice little sign that says your TSA pre-check, you're ready to go. Clear is fantastic. Clear you sign up for at the airport, and sometimes they give you a free thing to try to sell you. Like, hey, do you want to use Clear now? And you have like a free, this is your first flight, and then you do an annual plan. You sign up for that at the airport. Amazing.
I'm not even allowed to fly first class right now. My wife told me that
not allowed to fly first class.
Brittany told me we need to own more mobile home parks before she'll book me first class.
Oh, she's not booking you for first class.
She considers it motivation.
I did first class once on a business trip. It was the best trip ever. Loved it.
Damn.
Right, she sits me. This time I had to sit in the fucking window seat. I mean,
I can't do window seats.
I love window
I'm a
seats.
I'm a 6'1" tall guy. The plane trips are I hate them to no end. Must take painkillers. My back is killing me.
I have to be aisle.
Really? Damn, dude.
Not a fan of a plane. Except for that first class trip. Best ever. Could stretch the way the fuck out. It was the best.
See, that is a benefit of being a smaller guy, like 150 pound guy. I can get nice and cozy and fall asleep on the planes. Some recent flights I've had some larger people that take advantage of that and just like take my armrest and lean on me. I even had a funny story. I think last time I flew to Asheville, it was a larger woman in the middle seat, and I was like under her blanket with her during the flight.
You were just snugging her.
She was snuggling me, and I was I was putting my body like against the window.
Were you like?
And she took that as
was
just
your
more
head on
room
her
to
head?
maneuver.
Were you like? Were you?
My head was against the wall, so if the window is this way, my head was against the wall. And the more I moved over, the more she just took that as like more space for her. So I was literally under the blanket with her the whole time, and she spoke Spanish. I don't think she spoke English, which I know a little bit of Spanish, but I'm not fluent. So yeah, I was literally snug. Was like
she just like she threw the blanket up and it just like landed on you, and you're just like, this is fine. I'll be warm.
I didn't say this was fine, but
this is why you got to work your way up to like first class going everywhere.
Yeah,
but she won't. I'm not allowed to book it yet. We need more mobile home parks. We got to make more. She wants me to raise rents on everybody, and then I'll get those benefits. So
since you raise those rents, you get that first class trip to Little Rock.
When those fucking tenants wonder why they don't have enough money to feed their kids dinner because they got to pay so much in rent, I'm gonna wave my first class ticket in front of their fucking face. Motherfuckers.
Oh god. Travel.
Anyway, John, I had sent you.
You did.
I sent
a few things.
Yeah, let's pull it up, dude. Let's pull it up.
Which one? Is there one you want to hit first?
Fucking surprise me.
All right, I'm gonna go in this middle
We're gonna
one here.
share. We're gonna share some Instagram posts that I found interesting that we can
Love
kind
it.
of wrap on a little bit. Kind
Love
of
this
like
portion.
yeah, like what do we call it? Like a little pulse of the week. So here, Ren, he's really talking right here.
I'll play it whenever you
You
want,
want
or
to
you
play
want to
it?
do an
Yeah,
intro.
yeah, yeah. You want to
Let's
play
play
it?
it.
Play it.
Yeah,
Play it.
yeah. Here we go.
It ain't long.
All going to come down to the individual. You got some people, because of the cultural difference, they can miss on the context, but that's why I love that Hispanic culture, is the context is pretty similar. If they're smart and they're hungry and they have a high EQ, they could do just as well as an expat living in a foreign country. We've seen it. I have expats that have worked for me in the past and they do well, but it doesn't mean that someone else can't come along and execute at just of a high level. It all comes down to the training. How involved and how trained up are you? How much resources and how much attention are they getting, so we can identify the gaps in their productivity and their efficiency and ultimately close that gap and make them more likely to be able to overcome objections and close the sale and all kinds of things like that. I think it's all going to come
Yeah.
down to the individual.
So,
You got
that's
some
it.
people, because
Wait, so is he saying
Well,
you break down what you feel like he's saying, and then we'll go.
so, okay. No, I mean I agree with everything. Sorry, I was typing it on share screen, but then I typed it on share. So I agree with what he's saying. So when you're running a virtual team, which everyone knows I do,
Mhm.
it's tough because the Filipinos are very formal. So it's
Mm.
very tough, and they don't pick up on a lot of our cultural cues, like our different contexts of things. But the
Sure.
Spanish demographic does, and that's because in Spanish culture, they're very Americanized, especially in South America, like Colombia, in different places like Mexico. They're very Americanized to our ways, our brands, our products, our television shows, all of that. Whereas over in the Philippines, not so much. And their culture is, they're raised differently. So they're not, I mean, it's different when you're talking on the phone and you're using the word sirs and ma'ams a lot, and and you have an accent and you're not as confident or as boisterous or loud, right? Like he said, a very high EQ, right? Like this emotional intelligence to be able to pick up on what the seller needs you to be like and to respond like. I feel like for sales, the Filipinos lack in that, whereas Spanish countries, like whether it's Mexico or Colombia, they excel in that very much.
I'm gonna push back on that real quick though. So we have Filipino employees here at InvestorFuse, and what I've learned and what they've told me is of the Asian countries, the Philippines is like the most Americanized because of colonization in like
100%.
bases and stuff like that. So it's interesting that I mean, you talk about
100%.
basketball, like
Yeah,
whatever.
we have a base over there. We have like a military base, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
right.
it's very huge. That's not what I meant by that. I meant in their culture. I guess I misspoke. You're right. So they're Americanized, but it's their cultural differences.
I think a lot of like family
Yeah.
dynamics, like how they
Their
treat elders.
formalities. It's the way
Yeah.
they talk.
Mhm.
Um,
I already,
it-
yes.
when you train salespeople out of Mexico or Colombia, I mean, they're more confident.
Mhm.
They pick up on context a lot better. They pick up on sarcasm. They pick up on jokes, and I think that's because I would say they're more Americanized. They're more in tune with our culture per se than
Colloquial kind of
yeah
stuff.
than the Filipinos are. I think Filipinos are great for cold calling if you train them right. But what Ren said too is it all goes down to your training.
Mhm.
I mean, you just can't throw anybody
Yeah.
into anything. I mean,
Mhm.
it's all about the training and then the upkeep of that training, not just onboarding, but the upkeep of that training.
That's what I
found-
liked. Yeah, he said about like you got to keep doing. It's not like, hey, day
No.
1 through 5,
I
here's
made
your
that
stuff,
mistake.
and
Yeah.
have a great time.
So I treated them, and you would do that with an in-office person, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, you train them, throw them on the phone, and then they're picking up on the cues in the office, but virtually you don't have that. They're not picking up on the office cues and what they're listening around the office. So you have
True.
to continue those morning meetings and that training and pick up on your call reviews and really hone in with them. But you'll find a lot of them are very, I would use the word meek. They're not as aggressive in the Philippines and in some of those cultures. And then I think there are some cultures, like I found in Egypt when we hired people, they're good, but they could be very pushy, very aggressive sales.
Ah,
Interesting.
Yeah. And this is just my experience. I'm not speaking, and again, training helps all things, but I found that Colombia and I'm drawing a blank on the other country we've hired our closers in. Mexico was good. Mexico we had some other problems with, but it's easier to train them. They are very good. They can be very good salespeople. They can pick up on our context a lot better. They can blend the formalities and the informalities, and that's what I liked about him. And he said it a lot better than I could.
My wife's phone is broken, or like the back of it's broken, and she was calling around like trying to figure out prices for like replacing screen from not Verizon or Apple. She called this one store, and this guy had a foreign accent, and like he's like would not let her get off the phone. He's like, so when can you come down? Like, we could do it. If you drop it off, we get it back to you tomorrow. And she's like, oh, that's not going to work. He's like, okay, well, if you could get here, how long could you stay in the parking lot? And she's like, oh, we can't come today. Okay, no problem. Can you come tomorrow? Like, would you like for me to book your appointment? I was like, my God. Like, I was proud, like, not like proud of him, but I was like, man, this guy is like,
You respect
this is a $75 glass backplate, and he's going for it. Like,
Yeah.
he wants that sale.
Sale, baby. I had some Egyptians like that, and it didn't blend well in the way sales is today. The best I've had has been Spanish people. Well, we've had one or two Filipinos that have done really good, but sometimes I think they're afraid to make those hard offers because, I don't know, like I said, they're a little more reserved. And when you're more reserved, you could be more afraid of that rejection.
I think that's too like important. Like, you can train as much as you want, and you could have the best training on the planet, but if it's not fitting to the individual and they're not producing the results, then you got to come up with the conclusion that they're just not going to be a fit for that role. Doing something else, like I know. So the Filipinos, like, I mean, we work with for sure are phenomenal, and I've heard in other companies like great at processes, like great at this is how a cold calling team should work. Like, let's like put them through this.
They
like,
each have their skill.
Yeah.
And I think that we're in a world where there was another post, Max Maxwell posted. I did not send it to you. Max Maxwell posted, and he was explaining. He reposted someone's where the guy had like 30 employees, spending whatever it was, 200 some K a year versus the 1.2 million it would have cost for a U.S. employee. And he said, and this is where I think this is the most controversial thing, and something that I think too much of us Americans take advantage of, is we think less of somebody overseas. I think I've talked to way too many real estate people that treat their overseas workers like they're less than human because they're not American. I think that's a crock of shit. Some of them, right? They can do, and that's what the post was saying from Max Maxwell. They are as capable, if not more capable, for less pay with the same work ethic and same ability as any U.S. citizen or American employee sitting behind a computer doing computer work, right? If it could be done from a computer, it could be done as good, if not better, from another country at a cheaper rate. And we've interviewed, you guys know I interview so many people for our positions because I just have a whole interview process. And too many people are let go. They're not treated. They're not paid. Their biggest fear is not getting paid, getting lied to. Yeah. And it boggles my mind because what's the difference between them and us? A country? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
They're an employee.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I find that I think the Filipinos, man, like, Arjeen, she runs all of our operations. She fucking crushes it. She's a phenomenal integrator. I don't have to do anything. I just tell her my ideas, and she just knows how to integrate those, and she gets it done. I mean,
I don't know if it's a thing in like the type of people that are attracted to real estate, but I've definitely noticed that, and I have fired customers from InvestorFuse that have had that, like, have pushed that perception through chat or like just working with our team, and I'm like, I'm not having any of the shit. These people are phenomenal. Like, they're helping you out. Like, they will do whatever you like. I'm just like, nope, see ya. Don't need you in my customer base. Goodbye. Have a great time.
I think if I could go back and kind of restate what I was saying and kind of, I want to kind of reframe it because I think I misspoke. And I don't want people to think that you can't find good people in the Philippines to do sales, and you can't find good people in Colombia to do admin work or process work, right? But when we're talking about a specific pay scale, right? When we're talking about what most people pay, anywhere from $3.50 an hour to $5 an hour, right?
Mhm.
For any type of cold calling to close a role, maybe a little more, right? But when you're in that pay scale, you're left with this. It's just like any industry, any type of demographic, you're left with a
This is
certain
the
type of,
pool.
yeah, this
The
is the
pool is
pool of
there.
individuals.
Mhm.
And so in that, you're only left with a certain type of Filipinos because the ones that are really good, their required pay rate is higher. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
worth it too. They have
Yeah,
better
for
accents,
sure.
better things. And in Spanish, we found that we had to pay 50 cents more most of the time for, if not a little bit more, for people for the same position as in the Philippines as we did in Colombia or in some other Spanish South American country, like
You have to pay 50
Guatemala.
cents more in the Philippines to get
No,
the.
in the Spanish country
Okay.
because of the quality. So their job availability, because of their accents, and exactly what Ren was saying, their ability to pick up on our cultural cues, context, sarcasm,
Mhm.
all those things. They're more highly valued in some of these sales positions, in cold calling positions, so we would have to pay more than we would in the Philippines. But you're left in this pay category. And who would you
Mhm.
rather choose? If I know I'm going to pay between $3.50 and $5 an hour, and here's the talent I have, and here's their abilities, I
Mhm.
would lean more to the South American country than I would for the Philippines.
Mhm.
For our call center, we want a perfect blend. I
Yeah.
want both. I want Spanish and I want the Philippines because I think the Philippines is what they do. They love call centers. It's,
Mhm.
you know, and I think you could for cold calling, just getting a hand raise. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And that's all you need there. You don't need to spend 20 minutes NLPing them.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, you'll have to check out. You probably know him, Esteban Andrade. Does like Facebook ads, PPC. He used to partner with Scott Morse on stuff where Scott Morse would actually
Oh.
like be in physically in Colombia. I say he's like the Pablo Escobar of creating like a cold calling center, actually living in Colombia.
Yeah.
But he is a company, Remote Latinos, that essentially sources, and he has the same exact. He goes on rants of this all the time of people calling their teammates VAs, like in a derogatory or
Yeah,
you
it's
know as a lesser.
it's
But you should
derogatory.
definitely link up with him. Slash, we should maybe get him on the show to talk about that type of stuff. He does cool lead. He does.
Well,
He has a
let's
big
do it.
lead gen
I would
business.
love to talk to him about hiring, managing, and talking to these people. I mean, I think, yeah, I think there's a huge
Yeah.
problem, and you want to know why? Because it's just the way the class, I think, of people in our industry treats them because we're trained of like, oh, hire this person to do your work so you don't have to. That's
Yeah,
not how I
yeah.
hire people. I don't hire them so I don't have to do the work. I'll do
Mhm.
the fucking work myself. I'm hiring them because they have 80% of the ability that I do in 80-20 rule, right? If I could get it 80% as good as me, they're going to help me scale. I mean, we pay very competitive too, and like we'll do bonuses and like our managers, they'll get a percentage of some of the positions, percentage of revenue too. Even if they're back office, they'll get deal bonuses on closing deals. Like we try to make sure everyone's paid properly.
Mhm. That would be a fun conversation to have with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hate that derogatoriness between them.
Yeah.
But speaking of Scott Morse, our next video
Is
actually
Scott
of it.
Morse. Let's do this. Here we go.
It's cool they both go down to Colombia though. Like they actually go down to Colombia, meet with the team. That's why I'd always love to go to the Philippines to meet our team. That should be like on my bucket list a little bit more intentionally.
About that. Here we go.
All right, guys. So the most frequent question I get on Instagram is, what list do I call when I want to do cold calling myself, Scotty? And so there's really a lot of factors that go into that. One of the things I always ask is, how big is your team? How long have you been doing it? There's definitely different lists for different skill sets and competency. But let's just say you're brand new, you're a newbie, you're looking to get into the space, but you're not afraid of cold calling, baby. I would suggest absentee. I would suggest absentee lists. Out of state absentee is preferred. 2 to 3 bedrooms primarily. I would look for 7 years or more ownership. I think I love 7 years or more ownership just because of the amount of equity and how much the prices have raised in the past few years. That's a really good list. Load it into a dialer. Spend that extra 100, 150 bucks to load it into a dialer. Don't just dial these leads. But if you buy 10,000 absentee out of state records and you legitimately call them, I promise you, you'll get one deal from 10,000 well-targeted absentee records.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Scott Moore's pretty jacked to start off, but I feel like that's pretty standard motivation. Absentee, somebody that doesn't live at the property. It's like, hey, you're not there.
I think, the only thing that I would add criteria onto that, and this is just coming from my experience of what I hear other people doing because I've never called, but age of home, I feel like might be one that would help. Because if it's like a house, you're an absentee
2010.
owner, and the house was made in 2010, and then they've owned it for 7 years. Well, there's, that'd be maybe a great novation.
Yeah, I was
list to
just about
call.
to say, it kind of changes as Eric Brewer and the Brewer Method. Check our
Yeah.
link in our bios for a link to that, get a discount. But that would change. So it just depends. I like what he said. It all depends on the person and the team. Because
Yeah, that was
in
interesting.
Florida, you would do in-state and out-of-state because we have a lot of absentee that still live in state because we have a lot of second homeowners here. Out-of-state's huge. I like vacants, man. Like I feel, but the problem is where he's going. So I'm not disagreeing with him. He's speaking at a different level. He's saying 10,000 records. Well, depending on your county, you probably don't have 10,000 vacant homes. So for cold calling, you won't have enough data to cold call.
Yeah.
So to his respect, he's giving you a big list to do. Now, if I was to do it, I would use a software like REI Op Center, and I would go and I would buy either an absentee list and then a couple niche lists, right? And one of them would be vacants. I would 100% buy vacants, and then I would also look at my buyers list and decide like what kind of buyers do I have. Tired landlords could be a really good one too. And you stack them against something like your high equity or your absentee list. And that's what I would cold call too. But again, Scott's talking about cold calling high numbers. So if you need a lot of data,
high number lists.
A high number list, because when you're cold calling, you'll burn through 10,000 in a week, man, depending on how many hours a day you're dialing. So it just depends. But if you can niche it down, you're going to have a higher quality list of people more specifically motivated. So that's kind of what I think would be a very good thing to do. But I don't think he's wrong. I mean, absentees is like the bread and butter of shit.
Yeah, I like his suggestion of a dialer too. Like, if you're going to get through that number of records, if you're going to click to call or dial that on your cell phone, that's going to be a pain in the butt. Definitely would need a dialer to do that.
You need to get on ZenCall. Mojo, I used to use Mojo. I would just do ZenCall. I think they're a little more complex and built for scaling. So if your goal is to scale.
So you like how multiple people and queues fit into ZenCall? Because I know people that love Mojo for its like kind of built-in CRM functionality, because it's just like a lot easier to manage the data in one place.
Built in right there from Mojo too. I haven't used Mojo since 2017-16 when I was dialing on my own, and that's back when I was dialing for sale by owners for like my as I was a realtor.
Oh yeah.
So I can't speak much to it today. I did recently look at it and its pricing and its features the other month as we were wondering like what to do as we're kind of revamping our team for 2023. And I again ended up with ZenCall. I was just like, man, for the pricing, for what I plan on doing with my business, I like the scalability of being able to have my entire call center. Because for me, I want my own call center. I would not hire a Scott Morse company. I have nothing against him. I think he's obviously phenomenal at what he does. I like having everything in-house.
Yeah.
And also my goal is to have a 24/7 center so people from my parks have somewhere to call too. So I'm trying to synchronize all my stuff.
Yeah, multiple parts of your business in one platform.
In one call center. Bro, we'd even hook REI Op Center up to it. Have customers call in. I mean, it just makes sense for the way I scale, so that's why I like ZenCall. But if you're a one-man, two-man show, Mojo may be perfect for you. And it's it's a much easier platform from what I remember to get into than ZenCall is for somebody new to this
100%.
100%.
Speaking as a product person who can figure out any piece of software, it took me a while to figure out ZenCall. Every time I log in, I'm like,
I remember transferring
menu option.
When I transferred over, I was on their phone with they have phenomenal customer services.
They do, yeah.
But I needed
you have
a lot
to when
help.
You have a product designed that way.
But I think one of the things for 2023 that we're going to see a difference of, guys, and this is my opinion, and it's biased because I also co-own a software that has data stacking and the ability to have visibility into your data. But I don't say it because of that, but we invented that software simply because we knew that this time was coming.
Yeah.
I think niching your data
Mm-hmm.
it has always been a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I think trying to watch your dollar spend and minimize your expenses as best you can is probably going to be one of the biggest things for 2023 for smaller organizations to mid-size organizations. Obviously, when you're at scale, it's always good to operate lean, but when
Yeah.
you're at scale, you can get over the little humps a lot easier and the little mistakes and the little extra expenses. When
Yeah.
you're a small business, even the littlest hump could throw you way off your path of success. And same thing with a mid-sized business. So I think buying a software like REI Ops Center or any other service and being able to do that, and also one of the things is being able to have your leads from your dialer go back into your database or your list stacker, update it, so that way when you're remarketing, you're not respending that time, because time is money, or
Mm-hmm.
dollars again on any other
Mhm.
marketing channel, and you're actually narrowing that list down to be its truest form of
Could not
motivation.
agree with you more. It's like the entire benefit of a beautiful piece of software that we made.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely think that.
Um,
I think there's other softwares like REI Sift isn't a bad software. I'm not.
No.
I think Tyler's very good at what he does, but I think that's a very smaller scale of what should be capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
is there a minimum or I guess a minimum entry point? This is almost like a sales type question for prospects that are coming into like Investor Fuse funnel. Like, is there a certain amount of records that you need to have until you cold call? Like, if you're only cold calling like 25, 50, like local
Oh, I love this question.
foreclosure
That's a good
prospects or
question.
something. Because the
Okay.
people I've had it a couple times, a few
Are
times.
you saying before they need a dialer?
Before they need a dialer, and they're
Okay,
like, "Hey,
yeah.
I can call from my phone. It's not going to get marked as spam. It's
Yeah.
not that many leads. I have a Google spreadsheet." Or is it better still putting them in a dialer and following up with them? And is there kind of a minimum threshold?
I will say something, and then Brandon, I think, can add some more color about it. I would say never call from your personal cell phone ever. Because,
I think so too.
I mean, like, if you do call from your personal cell phone, it should be to buyers and sellers that you have under contract, and you want them to always pick up your phone call. You do not want your number to be marked as spam ever. Plus, like, calling your own personal business, right? Like, your own friends, family, whatever. There are, like, cheap single-line dialers out there, but not even dialers, just, like, VoIP
Air call?
phone system. Yeah, air call, just call. Like stuff like that, you know, not a dialer, but, you know, a VoIP solution that you can use to protect just your personal cell phone number. All right, but now Pop, take it away, Pop P.
Okay, so we're talking about minimum numbers. So I would say it depends on how we break this down, but if we're going to say, I personally think you need about 10,000. If you're in a dialer, you need about 10,000 leads for each one of your cold callers per month.
So that's the number. So if I'm dialing by myself, haven't even hired somebody, if I'm like, I'm going to attempt to dial 10,000 leads this month, I should be using a multi-line dialer. I wonder what that number is where it's like the speed of single line dialing, click to type or whatever it is like hits where a dialer would be.
So how about if we break it down a different way? And let's say, I would say and it breaks down into the hours too. I would say, like, if you're going to sit here and you're going to say, like, should I break out the board?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Because we're talking about cold calling. I'm not talking about warm follow-ups. I'm not talking about your CRM.
Right.
I'm just talking about dialing people. I think that if we're talking about a 6-hour shift, right? Because if you're probably not working a full 8 hours. If you're working for yourself, you probably got other shit going on, right? I think you should be dialing about 230. You should be making 230 contacts in a day.
That's people picking up the phone?
Yeah, and not even talking to you. It could be fuck you, hang-ups. I'm not talking about conversations. I'm talking about 230 contacts.
Somebody got on the other end of the phone.
Somebody got on the other end. They could have hung up as soon as they picked up. I'm talking about 230 actual pickups. So the dials could be a lot more than that, right?
So 38 an hour? 38.333 an hour?
And it depends on your conversation rate, but I feel that is your minimum right here. 230. And I think if you're dialing 200, if you're making contact with 230 people a day, right?
Mhm.
I think approximately 1% of those, 1% of that should be a lead.
Okay, let's go backwards though. Of what you dialed, how many do you need to get 230?
How many do you need to get 230?
Do I need to dial 1,000 leads and then I'll expect 230 of them to pick up?
I would say less than that, but yeah, about 1,000. We'll round it, say 1,000 leads.
Okay, so 1,000 leads. So if we go, what is it, 22 average working days? That's your 22,000 leads.
I always estimate it on like a 6-day week because you don't work Sunday.
So more. What is that?
I don't work Sunday. So the way I looked at it is I'm getting 2 to 3 leads per day.
For the month of February 2023, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $25 working days in February. So you need 2,500 leads. And you should get.
So the reason why the 1,000 dials, it gets iffy because, again, when you're uploading, and that's why I don't want to give a number, is because when you're uploading a list,
Leads.
you could have 10 phone numbers for the same person and none of them go through.
Right.
So it's always iffy. That's why I just say a 10,000 is a very good list for a month to start from, but your goal should have 230 contacts per day because you should be at about a 1% lead rate to your contacts in my mind. Maybe somebody wants to argue with me on that, but that's the way I look at it because I think if I'm making contact with 230 actual phone numbers, right, because of the other 500, 600, 700, and because, John, it also goes to your quality of your phone number too. So that's why I just kind of named 1,000 because you said it's a nice round number. Depends. Are you using True People Search for all of them? Are you using IDI? Are you using some white labeled off-brand skip tracing service? Are you getting 3 numbers per lead or 10 numbers per lead? The more phone numbers you get per lead, the higher rate by 6, 7, 8, and 9 number. Those ones are not even in working order, and it's just nothing. So it dials, it disconnects, dials, disconnects. So I don't really rate on my dials as I do because, again, we're talking 10,000 leads. 10,000 leads could transpose into 30,000 phone numbers.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Right? So I'm talking leads, and that's why I'm talking contacts, too. So, and then from there, if I'm getting 2 to 3 leads per day, I mean, baby, that's what? On a 6-day week, we're talking 12 to 15 total per week. And honestly, I feel like it just depends on your conversion rate. So if we're talking these are leads and you're actually doing a quality. So I guess let me say this. Are we talking about cold caller leads or an individual running a team lead? Because there's a difference.
Wait, what's the difference?
Well, a cold caller could push over a lot of shit leads.
Oh, you're saying that this is a good...
if it's me on the phone, so if I'm a when I was a solopreneur, right, and I'm just dialing myself, I'm not just cold calling. I'm qualifying during my cold call a lot better than a cold caller will. So my leads are going to be of a higher quality on a cold call versus a cold caller just saying, "Oh, this guy said he's interested. Push it over." Really, he's interested because he's been getting a lot of calls and he wants to hear an offer, but he's never going to sell.
Gotcha.
So it just depends. I would say on low quality leads, 50, 55 to contract.
Oh, wow. Man, cold calling is a grind.
I would say high quality. So that's HQ.
So if you did all of that and you got, let's say, 12... Can't do my math quickly.
So you're if you're dialing every day by yourself, you should be getting anywhere from 1 to 2 contracts, especially a month. But again, so here's the difference. Is that may not seem appealing, but you're on your own. So your costs are low. It's going to take you longer, and you're only dialing 6 hours a day. Now, if I take this times 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have 4 cold callers calling for me essentially. Now instead of getting 1 to 2, right, I can now be getting 1 contract a minimum a week. So now I'm getting 4 contracts to 8 contracts per week, right? Based on these numbers right here. If I add on 4 cold callers, but it doesn't work like that. You would think it does, but it doesn't.
Why?
Okay. Here's the reason why. Because there's a different. Sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent here. But there's different from managed versus non-managed cold caller.
Okay.
So I've run both teams, and I found that my quality of my lead and my ability to get leads when I bring on, this is all me doing it, right? This is all somebody skilled doing it. Bro, if you're over here and you hire 4 cold callers and you're going off and now your sales, your acquisitions, your dispo, and you bring on 4 Filipinos to do this, well, guess what? Who's managing them? Who's reviewing their calls? Who's training them every day? Maybe you are, and if so, then I stand by these numbers. These are the numbers that I manage my cold call team by.
And so 4 cold call. I'm just doing some quick math. Four cold callers at $4 an hour would be about $2,200 a month.
How many bucks an hour would you say? $4?
$4.
And how much is that?
2,200.
Yeah, plus your dialer fees, plus your phone numbers and all that. We didn't get into that. Plus the cost of data. And then, so here's the thing. I would never recommend this. Never. So I would say the next thing you need, the next thing you're going to need is a manager / QA. So at a low point of 4, your manager, or what I call shift supervisor, is going to be your QA, because what else are they doing all day? They're reviewing calls, they're listening to calls, they're whispering, and they're popping in and out. So either you find an experienced one and you pay them their due rate. You'll
Which
be
is
paying
what?
So it just depends. If you're in the Philippines, you could be paying anywhere from $6, $7, so anywhere above 5, really, just depending on their skill level, all the way up. I think you could be very happy. So if it's shift supervisor, you should be around like $550, right? Now, if you have a manager of your shift supervisors, of your QAs running your entire call center, now you're going to go up closer to $7 an hour.
But it's still a very profitable organization. I mean, you got
Very
people that can
profitable.
close.
But the
Close those
problem
contracts.
is your costs start going up, right? So now you got them working 40 hours a week. You got these people working 36 hours a week, right? 6 days a week. And we did that. We lowered it from an 8-hour shift because we felt people were burning out on 8 hours. By the last 2 hours of the day, the quality of the conversation was going downhill.
Yeah, that would make sense. Interesting.
I'm thinking of Elon at Twitter.
I think,
these employees were.
and I haven't run my numbers to see what happens. Like, so this is like on cash offers and stuff. I don't know what it would be if you added novations as an option to as an exit strategy. That would probably change. Yeah. This is the number we always ran by, 50 to 55.
Yeah, that makes sense when it's not like you, the trained person, doing it.
Yeah.
The informed decision maker.
100%.
Very
Well
fun.
done.
I
Yeah.
enjoy a good math session.
Yeah,
I
that was a
never
good-
actually
good-
thought
good
about
breakdown.
what's the cost and way a cost center or call center works.
I mean, cold calling, you could spend quite a bit of money. $8,000. I mean, $10,000 a month just running a call center, but you're getting deals from it. And then
Does that include data?
I don't put data on my call center because you use it for different marketing strategies.
Yeah.
Data for me, data and skip tracing is outside of my marketing.
Yeah.
It's a cost that has to be incurred in order to exist.
Yeah.
So we have that as a separate GL account in our books.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
All right, Mr. Rob. Let's do it. We got one more video to wrap up our session here.
Oh yeah, this was a good one.
Rod, he's been on the 80/20 show before.
He's a beast.
This is Pro Landlord. Okay, I mean it's a pretty red state. It's as red as it gets, like Florida, where I'm from. Understanding the environment, the political environment of where you're investing, and the states and the council members, and what their stances are on people taking the risk and owning real estate is very, very, very. And the direction it's headed. I mean, it's very possible that there could be rent control here in Colorado at some point, like they have in New York. Like is being presented in California, right? So pay attention to where it's headed too.
It's huge.
Yeah, Texas is pro landlord. Oh,
Not a lot of people think about that, I don't think.
I do.
So would that inform even where you would want to do wholesale? Like, I certainly think it would matter if you were buying and holding, but if you're like, I'm going to wholesale properties in New York, you got to think who's actually fucking buying those, because maybe they don't want to be a landlord. Or
buy anything. I've been looking at mobile home parks. There was a great deal in New York, not city but state, and I was like, Brian, I ain't buying anything in fucking New York. I don't want one thing. I don't want anything in California. I don't want anything in New York. Fuck them, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good point. Which is it California where like there's like crazy laws around squatters?
My Uber driver was talking about this last night. That recently moved to Florida. He moved from California. Restaurant owner. He got his restaurant shut down during COVID in California, and he moved out here for this reason.
Man.
It's not just that, man. It's like, the rental game. Like, so we were investing in Philadelphia during COVID. We had broken in the Philadelphia market. We started gaining traction. We ended up backing out of it because I was trying to move rental, because Philadelphia had a lot of rundown fucking houses, row homes, or you get a lot of good rental potential, right? And development too. There's a lot of teardowns, but bro, like when COVID happened, dude, landlords were getting fucked left and right. And it was just, you couldn't sell a rental prop. No one wanted to take on a rental property. Even the landlords, I'm still in the Facebook groups, they're still bitching about it. Like, the laws so that's not even the state of PA, which tends to go blue. Yeah. But Philadelphia itself has its own laws, and they were wild. We had buyers explaining it to us, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to Texas, baby.
Texas.
And that's my home state. That's that's where I'm born and raised. I lived outside of Philly. I lived near the capital, and it's like, I love PA. Will I invest there? Me and my wife have talked about it, but it's a blue state, so why am I going to put all my resources there? One day, maybe, but not when you're trying to scale in the easiest states.
My Uber driver would have asked you this, Papa P and John.
Yeah.
Will California ever go red if it's just overall economic health?
I don't know why it doesn't. Why all those? But it probably won't, because of all the fucking shithead people out there. It's like, bro, you got such wild people living there in the music industry and the TV industry who have no sense of reality of the real world. So they are the majority of the people that are the problem. And that's why nobody wants them in their state. We don't want them in Florida. Montanans don't want them up there. Texas people don't want them down there. Don't come California, our state. It's not just the government doing it, because the people influence the government. The government wouldn't be elected if it wasn't for the Nimrods who want that type of government.
Oh God, so I've experienced this with Investor Fuse. The other co-owner, Dan, he had the majority. So wherever he lived, it was where the company was taxed, and he lived in San Diego for a couple of years, and they suck. Like, the amount of money they took, they would just go into bank accounts, take it out, like craziness. Like, and I'm like, why would you live there? Like, sure. Like, I went to San Diego once. It was nice. I enjoyed it. The weather was wonderful. You would not pay me enough money to move there and deal with how much money they take from businesses and personal income.
Just out of principle too. Like, even if you were making over $100 million and 20 million of that each year goes, unless you start doing stuff, unless you get creative with real estate and tax strategy and stuff like that. But that's why I like here, man. I love San Diego. Loved Little Italy, San Diego. When I started going out there in like 2016 was the first time for. This reminds me of it. The neighborhood I live in reminds me of Little Italy, San Diego. I was telling the dudes this at dinner last night that moved here from San Diego. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. That's why a lot of people are moving here.
And that's why Colorado's getting ruined, because all those motherfuckers from California are moving out to Colorado and they're sissifying it.
What's Colorado? Is that or is Denver blue or red more
Yeah.
so?
Denver's blue.
It used to be different. Used to be red.
For states to legalize marijuana. Not that that's typically a blue-red thing, but
No, it's. I think you're right though. Funny story though, of the reason why. Yeah, it's Democratic. I was googling it. The reason why I bought in.
you didn't chat
Arkansas-
GBT at that?
No, I didn't. I googled it. Yeah, ChatGPT would have my answer back real fast. So why I bought in Arkansas? One, it was pure luck.
Yeah.
But I went to Chris Rude's Allies Mastermind. We're
Mhm.
out for dinner, and I'm sitting at a table and just chit-chatting it up. And some guy from Arkansas tells me that it is a criminal offense to not pay your rent in the state of Arkansas. So I don't know if you know what that means.
Nice.
But typically, it's just a civil offense, right? It's going to go against your credit. You're going to get charged. You're not going to jail. The judicial, like you're not. The judge isn't sitting here saying, "Hey, you're going to jail and you're paying this fine," right? Like that's not happening. You're not going on probation because you didn't pay your rent. So in Arkansas, if you're a day late on your rent, you automatically lose the right to your dwelling to stay there. After being served 10 days, it goes into this whole thing. After being served your 10-day notice, right? And I'm not a lawyer. Check with your lawyer for all the laws. After you're served with your 10-day notice, right? If you're not vacating the property, the landlord has the right to go and file criminal charges, which equal to be a Class B misdemeanor, which is equivalent.
Whoa.
I did ask ChatGPT what that meant. It goes up to 90 days in jail, $1,000
Holy
fine,
hell!
or probation, community service, depending on blah, blah, blah. But what that does is that puts a criminal record on you versus when I just go and see an eviction on your record. Now you have a misdemeanor on your record. And from my understanding from the attorney we've hired, it's not any easier to evict people in the state of Arkansas than it is in Florida. But it's the fact that there could be a threat, like they don't mess around. It's like, hey, you're not paying your rent. It's very quick. Notice 3 days to vacate, send it through the court. If they fight it, that's different. And then there's also rules where they have to put their money into a court-appointed account in order to be monitored. And if they win, they get it back. If they lose, then, they're getting kicked out.
Interesting.
So that's why I wanted Arkansas. I thought
Interesting.
that was interesting and unique.
That is.
And then lo and behold,
And
6
why
months
you've
later,
got an
I got
attorney
shot
in
for-
Arkansas.
Yeah.
You got what? Oh, Shop the Park. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really intriguing. I like that.
I thought it was interesting.
Definitely was crazy.
It was, man.
But yeah.
I've looked at a lot of rental states. I'm only looking at red states.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to consider anything else. And I know if this actually makes it out into the YouTube ether, people hate landlords. Like, they fucking hate us. They hate landlords. But you don't get it, man. You're not paying your fucking rent. That's why I hated what was happening in Philly. Like, you guys got free. You guys didn't have to pay your rent. Who's covering the landlord's mortgage?
Right. Exactly. Like they have costs.
Who's
That's
paying
they
my
live.
debt?
That's a business. Yeah. Exactly. It was definitely weird.
Papa P. So if we slide you a hot rental deal in Portland, Oregon.
I'm not buying. I think Oregon
In the heart of Portland.
I would want to live in Washington too. I love that coast. Like just the look of it. I've never been there. The look of it I've seen. I love sailing. I would sail out there, the ocean, the orcas. I would be out in Seattle and Washington. I'm cool. The forests, everything is beautiful, except for their fucking government. I would want nothing to do with that government.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking at Montana and Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
I love Florida. We would have another home in Montana and Wyoming. And then I would love New York too because of the Adirondacks, but it's New York. It's fucking New York, bro.
Isn't it pretty red out there in the boondocks of New York?
Yeah, but you're still bound by New York law.
True.
Not just because you're in the boonies doesn't mean you live life on your own. I mean, it should. It should mean that. It should mean that you get to live life. If you're outside of society, no one should govern you but yourself.
I like that.
Love it.
I don't know how many other investors out there buy property based on politics.
I don't know either. I know of a guy
Plays a
who
factor.
does
For a lot of
work
people,
out
it plays
in
a factor.
Washington, Seattle. Does a lot of business up there.
I'm sure they do. It's not like there's not landlords out there, right? But why?
Mhm.
In today's world, like, why would you? Why
Maybe
would
that's
I
just what they
choose-
are, and they're like, I want to do it local.
Yeah, that's me. That
Mhm.
was until I got introduced to the world of social media and all these events and all these guys doing it virtually. I always just equated rentals to my backyard.
Mhm.
And now, if you talked to me 3 years ago, I'd been like, no, I only want to buy rentals that I could drive to. I only want to manage mobile home, blah, 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 blah. And my whole mindset got changed when I was introduced to higher level thinking about what's possible and how to do it. And mostly from Tim Bratz. Like, I joined that mastermind. I was watching all those people do it. And, like, I was like, what? And then when I bought this park and I wanted to know to self-management, Tim Bratz's mastermind, and they're like, dude, just self-management. I was like, how's that possible?
Not even
How is it
there.
not? Yeah,
Yeah.
How do I do that? And they explain it.
Mhm.
And that's what the value of joining some of those groups are.
Mhm. Cool stuff.
100%.
All right, well,
All right, guys.
that was another fun week. I hope you enjoyed our perusal through Instagram. And
I did.
I know,
enjoyed
it's
the
good.
perusal through Instagram and kind of the quick, just like operation of cold calling. That was a fun episode.
That was good. That was good stuff. All right, guys. We'll be back to our regular live schedule for first week of February. See you then.
Lock and load, guys.
Peace.